Hey friends, and welcome back to my channel. As promised in my last video, today is the day I'm going to take you along in reinventing 3 different types of leftovers. I will be sharing all my tips and ideas with you to help you be successful and inventive in your own kitchen. If you're new here, I'm Lizzy Reyes. I'm a stay-at-home mom of 6 and expecting my 7th. I love to share all things homemaking, cooking, cleaning, and decorating. It's my hope that this channel feels like a soft place to land and an inspiring place to connect with others. If that's your kind of channel, hit subscribe and stick around so you don't miss any future content. Alright, let's jump into cooking. Okay, so to start out, our first recipe is going to be reinventing this Peruvian chicken from a local restaurant. It's called Pollo a la Brasa. This chicken is very heavily seasoned with Latin flavors. So this would be tip number 1. Consider the flavors and seasonings that are already on your leftovers that you are reusing. So with that, I want to continue with using those Latin flavors to my advantage. So I'm going to be making some chicken quesadillas. I am just picking off the chicken from the bones, getting it diced up and chopped into bite-sized pieces to work with. And then I will be assembling the quesadillas. Normally when I'm doing quesadillas, I will chop up some cilantro and green onions because that's what our family likes. And I like to mix that together and then just sprinkle it in as I am assembling them. But on this night, I didn't have those 2 ingredients, and so I just forewent them and my kids still gobbled it up. It was delicious. Now I'm just going to be prepping the cheese that I plan on using for tonight. As you can see, it's been a lot of in and out. There's a lot of it that I cut out. This took me a while just to get to this point. I had lots of kids wanting to go in and out of the house with playing, and I was watching them through the window, checking in on them, making sure they're playing nice and no one's getting taken because that freaks me out. And so I am just going to start assembling these. I like to use raw tortillas. I think they taste the best. And then I'm going to heat up my pan as I'm prepping all of the quesadillas. And then we're going to go ahead and cook them up on the pan. I do like to sandwich, so to speak, my chicken in cheese. So I do a layer of cheese, a layer of chicken, and I would normally do the cilantro and green onions and then another layer of cheese. It doesn't have to be quite as much, depends on how much you like, it's your preference, but that way everything really sticks like glue and holds everything in. Now that my pan is nice and warm and all of my quesadillas are assembled, I am going to go ahead and get these cooking up. I do like to have a little bit of cheese that falls out on the sides. My kids really like when it gets crunchy and cheesy. So if that happens, let it happen. It just makes it taste even better. And you're just going to have to find a temperature that works for your stove. Each of my burners are a little different, and so I've kind of figured that out for myself, what temperature it needs to be and for how long. So just keep an eye on it. But once that tortilla is cooked and the cheese is melted, then just pop them off and enjoy. So my second reinvention is going to be with my leftovers that I barbecued. These are chicken breasts that I marinated with sort of Peruvian flavors again. This barbecue is so delicious, but I don't barbecue as often. not every week. And so I usually will make extras when I know I'm going to be doing this type of barbecue, whether it's beef or chicken. I always make extras because I love using them for leftovers. So I'm just going to be chopping them up, again, dicing it. When you dice your protein, it stretches farther. You're going to get a lot more mileage out of it, so to speak. And so I am going to just get this all chopped up. And then I also purposely make a lot of leftover rice because we like to eat this barbecue chicken with rice. And in the summertime, we do like to have it with corn on the cob. But because there is no corn on the cob yet here, I am just using some frozen corn. And I will show you how I get this all mixed together and delicious. So my second and third tip to you are going to be chop your protein into bite-sized pieces to get that extra mileage out of it. And then consider, for the third tip, adding that protein to a starch. So it could be rice, it could be pasta, it could be some sort of cooked and diced potatoes. It's up to you, but those are really great options in stretching your meal. Like I mentioned before, I am going to be using some white rice. This is leftover, so it's cold. I don't have a microwave in my house. I haven't had a microwave in about 15 years. And so I'm very used to reheating things on the stove. I think it tastes much more delicious. And so I have added some oil to a warm pot or pan, and I am just going to soften this up. You could even add a little bit of water to re-moisten it if it's too clumpy. You'll see when I dump the whole thing in, it is very much one big chunk. So I'm gonna let this reheat so that we can get it softened and loose. I don't know if you noticed, but I did not dump that container that had my chicken in it, because look at all of that flavor flav. That is goodness right there. And I'm trying to get every last drop out and adding it to my rice. I did not add water to it because I knew I would have this cooked marinade to add to it. And let me tell you, it does make a difference. It may not seem like a lot, but it definitely makes a difference. So as I'm mixing it in, you'll see that the rice absorbs all of that flavor. I don't normally salt my rice because I salt all my other entrees and sides pretty well. But because it wasn't a lot of marinade, I did salt the rice a little. And then once I get this all softened and mixed in and flavorful, I'm going to add in the chicken, and then I'm going to add in the frozen rice and just reheat it all together, mixing it over and over and over again until it finally comes together, and I will show you the final product. I did want to remind you that it is appropriate to season each layer that you are putting in. So obviously this corn was not salted, so I'm adding salt to that. I added salt to my rice like I had mentioned because I had not salted that. And I absolutely adore fresh cracked pepper. And so I'm adding in a bunch of that. That's great flavor. And getting the corn all cooked up and heated through. And then you will see how all of this comes together. It's just one big mix. I did add a little more oil because it was seemingly a little dry. And when you also take into consideration how much food is actually in this pot, it isn't a whole lot of oil. Okay, now that we've taste tested it, we are ready to eat. Everything is salted and seasoned well. Dinner is ready to serve. So for our third reinvention, I am going to be using this chicken. This chicken is from a little fundraiser that a family friend had, and we purchased a few plates from them, and this was, again, leftover chicken. This one was a little more basic. It was saltier, and so I am just going to be dicing it up, taking it off the bone, getting it all prepared. Remember, stretching that chicken to get the extra mileage out of it. And I am going to be making some, well, my version of fried rice, which we call arroz chaufa in our house. And so I am getting my green onions out. These are actually a lot of green onions that I had already pre-chopped that were left over from another dinner in the refrigerator. So again, this is using a lot of leftovers and different flavors of things, finding things in my refrigerator that might go well together. And so getting it all prepared and chopped up, and then I'm going to fry this up in the pan, and then I am going to be also using some leftover brown rice that I had from earlier in the week and some leftover white rice that I had left over. And so I am going to be mixing that together to make sure I use all of my leftovers. And normally, if I'm just doing this without leftovers in my fridge, I do just white rice, but I wanted to use everything so that nothing went to waste. So tip number 4 would be to consider adding eggs to your leftovers. This could either be to stretch protein if you don't have enough protein to make it filling for your family, and to also add some flavor and some texture. It doesn't have to be a lot of eggs. It can be just a few. But because I cook so much food for such a large family, I did do 10 eggs for this fried rice. I do use quite a bit of oil for this recipe. It is a fried rice, so you are frying the rice, and it does make it taste absolutely delicious. It's not something we have all the time. It's not how I cook everything, but some dishes are just like that, aren't they? So I'm putting in my round of brown rice. I'm going to be doing probably, I think it's either 3 or maybe 4 rounds of frying rice. And my 5th tip is to consider condiments. Condiments such as any marinades that are left over, like I showed you in my second meal before this, and soy sauces. You could do teriyaki sauces, anything that's condiment-like that would really add and beef up the flavor. Once my rice is really, really hot, I'm going to drop in a few eggs, maybe 4 or 5 eggs. And the way I like to cook them for my fried rice is I'll break them up a little bit, but then I kind of give them a minute to cook, and then I will deliberately but gently mix them in. And so it's a little hard to explain. Hopefully this is a good visual, but I don't go crazy with the mixing. I try to give it a chance to cook and make sure that the raw egg touches the pan a few different times so that it gets really cooked and you can start to see the streaky yellow and white. That lets me know. And it doesn't feel wet. It starts to feel really dry and more crumbly. Now that my egg is all cooked through, I'm going to put this first batch of rice into this pot that I will mix together once all the batches are done. At the very end, I'm adding more oil to the pan. I'm going to be doing some leftover white rice. It is in one clump, so I'm going to break it apart. I'm going to heat it up and get it loosened again. And then I'm going to add some soy sauce, and I'm going to add some green onions and some more eggs. While my egg is cooking through, I'm going to prep some frozen peas. I'm putting some frozen peas into this bowl. In the back of this shot here, you can see that I'm heating up a kettle of hot water. And once that's done boiling, I'm going to add it to the peas so that they can defrost. And then I am going to be adding this to my final bowl when I'm serving all the dishes up. The Sanjay organic tamari sauce is my favorite soy sauce. I used to use Kikkoman for the longest time, decades probably, and I just really like this one better. So if you're looking for good soy sauce, I recommend the Sanjay. I'll have it linked down below, but I'm adding this next batch into the pot. I'm going to mix it all together to get everything incorporated and evenly flavored, and then I'm going to serve it up. I'm going to give it a taste test because I am starving, you guys. I am so hungry on this night, and it is so delicious. I'm going to add some peas to my bowl. I like to mix mine in. My husband and some of my kids don't like it mixed in. That's why I like to do peas on this side. But if these tips helped you, if you have any questions, or if you have tips you'd like to share with the rest of us, I would love to hear it down in the comments. I say it every time, but it's my favorite part of having this channel is getting to connect with all of you. Until next time, take care. Bye!